I was only maybe 30 minutes from Mom's hometown where majority of the family lived. And I was wondering, how come no one's coming to visit? How come no one is stepping in and say, hey, do you need a meal?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Caregiving Gumbo. It's a hot mess. I am Nadine Roberts Cornish, founder of the Caregivers Guardian and the Colorado Alliance for Caregiving Youth, as well as the author of Tears in My Gumbo and the book Prayers in My Gumbo, Caregivers Recipe for Peace. We are excited to be back with you today, continuing our conversation about when family is not walking the walk. So, if you heard our last episode, we know you're as anxious as we are to get going. But let me welcome back Al-Nisa Berry.
Thank you so
my
much,
sister.
Nadine. It's so good to be back. This is amazing.
All righty. So we're just going to get into it. Okay. Yes. So we're talking about the disappointment of family not showing up for the primary caregiver or for the person that they love. Sometimes that person is the same mama, okay, yes, to multiple people, but it's only one person shouldering the responsibility. Sometimes it's a loved one, a beloved aunt that everybody benefited from, who took care of, was there for everybody. Beloved aunt or uncle, but it's one person that's shouldering the brunt of the responsibility. So in the last episode, we shared that it really is the assignment of the primary caregiver. The primary caregiver said yes to this assignment, but Al-Nisa shared that, she had family members that promised to be there from the very beginning, and she was relying upon that. And they wouldn't show up. One person went so far as to say, what, Al-Nisa?
It sucks to be you, but I can't do it.
Gosh, and you know what? Only your family. You got to love it, because only your family there is going to be that crass, that raw with you, right? And do so out of their own guilt, right? Say those things out of their own guilt, because they just got to divorce themselves from the situation. They're not going to show up, and they feel bad about it. And so they got to say what they got to say and get the heck on away from there, right? But I think it's really important for us to understand that I think people ultimately do the best that they can do, as bad as it appears, as bad as that best appears to be, right? We have a certain standard because we have said yes to the assignment of taking care of someone that we love. We might have said that yes grudgingly, but ultimately, once we said the yes, we've made the commitment. And we are committed, especially when we're talking about a loved one who's terminally ill. We don't know how long they're going to have. And we have the responsibility to do the best that we can to take care of that individual to the best of our ability, right? We've made that commitment. The person on the outside looking in, whether it's someone who is it's a parent, and so it's a sibling that is on the outside looking in, and those are the ones I think that we have the most difficult time with, because we say she raised me just like she raised you. Why am I having to make so much more of a sacrifice when this is the same person that gave you life? In my consultation sessions with family, my mediation sessions with family, I always say that you have a responsibility, especially if we're talking about mom or daddy, good, bad, or indifferent. This is a person that gave you life. And the thing is that caregiving responsibilities don't change the dynamics of the family. Oftentimes it exposes it and it magnifies it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I said last episode that in my almost 20 years, I got 5 families that did this well, that did this collectively, that was taking care of each other in the process. One of those families right now, they just celebrated mom's 100th birthday. This woman is kicking it, but all the siblings participate in the process of caring. One of the siblings is retired and she flies out every 6 weeks, to spend a week to 2 weeks to give everybody that's there a total and complete break, right? But everybody rotates their time, their days, because mama's still staying in her house. And everybody is taking turns, right? That family, unfortunately, and I'm going to shout out to the Booker family in Baton Rouge, but they have it all the way together, right? They've always been a close unit. They talked about what would happen and what they would do come this time, right? They couldn't imagine mama would live to be 100 years old, but she's 100 years old. And she is being cared for exquisitely by her family members. So I know, and I don't want folks, blowing up our emails with my family. We do know there are exceptions to the rule. I'm just telling you what the experience is. And for families who have it together, they can't believe it when we tell them that no, most family caregivers end up very isolated in the process. They end up very disappointed and brokenhearted because family members don't show up. And there are a myriad of reasons for that. But here's what I invite the primary caregiver to consider who find themselves in the position where most members don't show up. I have a large and loving family, and my family showed up, but my family didn't show up like I wanted them to show up. And what I came to understand, because it was a long distance thing, I do believe that had I continued to care for my mom in California where she lived, I would have gotten more support. And I was told by her siblings that I would have gotten more support if she had remained in California. But the deal was while she was in California, I wasn't getting the support that I needed. And when she ultimately had a stroke and her needs were so much greater, and the family that was there in California, my siblings included, were not able to meet the needs of her being able to stay at home. And of course, the hospital was pushing for her to go into a facility. And I was like, no, my mom is not going into a facility. So I brought her to Colorado, and it was just me and my husband. My husband was exceptional, and I have to say this every opportunity that I get. He was absolutely exceptional in helping me to care for my mother. Eventually, he became her preferred caregiver. I didn't particularly care for that, but it's that thing that women have with men, young men especially. My mama had that going on big time. So my husband became her preferred caregiver, right? But one of the things that I had to come to grips with was that the care that my mother needed, I had to provide it because I had certainly made that commitment. But I had to also be receptive to the fact that her care would also come from individuals and come from entities that I had not anticipated. I expected it to be the family, but it ultimately was strangers. It was friends who said, hey, I'll come and I'll sit and I'll read with your mom. I'll come and spend time with her so you and your husband can go off. People that I least expected showed up. And I had to be willing to accept that in order to release the demands that I had on other family members that I thought should have been showing up, right? Bless and release. Bless and release people, but bless and release your expectation, your idea of what this was supposed to be. Because, we can be so married and committed to an idea that we can't move forward because we're stuck on who should have been showing up, who should have been doing what. In my consultations, I always tell family members, it's your time or your money that's needed. If because of distance you can't be there, then you have a financial responsibility to show up financially, especially if you have the capacity to do so. If you don't have the capacity to do so, then you got to figure out, how do you show up? Because the reason that I continue to do this work, the statistic that I hate the most from Stanford University, that says that 40% of caregivers providing 24/7 care die before the person they're caring for. That's a statistic that families are responsible for. Are you showing up? Are you doing your part? And I have gone on and on. Al-Nisa hadn't said nothing. She just in this kitchen with me right now. She just listening.
Yes,
but Al-Nisa,
yes.
what you
It
think?
is so very true. And I had to have enough faith to say that when I am in need, that someone will appear. And that is what would happen. It would be a neighbor, it would be a friend, it would be the facility with the home care system of coming to the house. And I had to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to accept that family is not going to show as they had promised and that it was on me. And what was strange is my mom would remind me that I had signed up and said to her that I would care for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything that she saw that wasn't happening, she would say, Al-Nisa, you said you would care for me. This is what you promised me. And being a woman of my word, yes, I am going to do my absolute best to care for you.
Absolutely.
And I was only maybe 30 minutes from Mom's hometown where majority of the family lived. And I was wondering, how come no one's coming to visit? How come no one is stepping in and say, hey, do you need a meal? Do you need to just go and take a walk? And I got you. I'll sit here for a minute. And that wasn't happening. And as you say, these situations open up doors or windows that we didn't know existed. And it also opened up past hurt and pain. And I discovered that some of the family members were not coming to help because of some of pain that they had endured in their interactions with Mom when she was well. And they had not forgiven her, along with my sibling, of not letting go of the things that may have been harmful or hurtful in order to care for her. And they were holding on to that and saying, no, I remember your mom said this and she did this and she hurt my feelings when she did this. And I was like, that was 40 years ago. What? Oh, I was 10, I was 12, I was 15. And that was keeping them away because they had not letting that go. And I had no idea that was even a factor. I said, okay. I don't understand. I had one family who she came through. She is a nurse, certified, registered nurse. I had to get away for about a week. She came in and seemed like it was happening frequently. When she would come, she came twice. When she would come to care for Mom, Mom would decline and get worse. And she was dealing with the side effects of the chemotherapy. And I didn't get much rest because it was a constant phone call of Al-Nisa, she's doing this and this is happening and this is happening. And not wanting to take on the responsibility of making the decision because she may make the wrong one. And then it would be, she would be held accountable. So it was not, so I'm away and yet not away because of the constant contact of trying to make sure that the proper care was given for Mom. And I had to learn, hey, this is me. I will go to the support groups that you were offering, Nadine, to help me figure out how to navigate. And it was hard. It was extremely hard to let go of that expectation. The other thing that I noticed or that came up was my siblings believed that their life was worth more than mine. And their job and all the things that they did and responsibilities that they had was higher than mine and diminishing. So they weren't going to give up theirs, but I should give up mine because mine was not as worthy.
Wow. Okay, I guess we're going to have another episode of this. Because we are at the end, and we want to thank our sponsors, Colorado Respite Coalition. We want to thank all of you who are listening. Don't hesitate to share this podcast with a caregiver that you know. And if we stepped on any toes today, sorry. Excuse us. But you needed to hear what you heard so that you could understand and that you could look in the mirror and see yourself. Or not. See you on the next episode. Take care, good people.
Thank you.
Remember, no matter where you're watching the Caregiving Gumbo podcast, we ask that you comment, like it, share it, and pass it on. This podcast grows through sharing.
Stay strong, carry